You are being influenced every single day, not by magic, but vehicled, calculated psychology of power. Some people don't just navigate social situations. They engineer them, pulling invisible strings to shape decisions, loyalty, and fear. Over 5 centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli decoded this dark art in his infamous work, The Prince. This wasn't philosophy for the virtuous. It was a manual on the psychological mechanics of control. Machiavellianism isn't about cartoonish villainy. It's about understanding the levers of human nature, ambition, and fear. By revealing these tactics, we are not endorsing them. We are inoculating ourselves against them. Let's pull back the curtain on the mental toolkit of the strategic manipulator. The core of the Machiavellian approach is not evil, but a profound emotional detachment. Where you see friendships and grievances, the Machiavellian strategist sees assets and liabilities. This detachment allows them to make decisions unmoved by sentiment, guilt, or loyalty. They can be charming and supportive today, and ruthlessly sever that connection tomorrow if it serves their goal. This isn't a lack of emotion, but a strategic suppression of it, treating human relationships as a chessboard. This psychological distance is their first, most critical advantage, freeing them to act in ways the emotionally entangled never could. Knowledge is power, but controlled knowledge is control. A Machiavellian mind thrives on creating and exploiting information asymmetry, knowing more than others, and carefully controlling what is revealed. They share just enough to guide, mislead, or create dependency. By being the sole source of key information, they become indispensable, a gatekeeper of reality. This tactic fosters uncertainty in others, making them easier to manipulate. The Machiavellian approach understands that whoever defines the narrative controls the game, and they work tirelessly to own that narrative by selectively distributing the pieces of the truth. Machiavelli famously argued it is better to be feared than loved. The modern Machiavellian applies this through calculated reciprocity and punishment. They deliberately distribute favors to create a network of indebtedness, a bank of obligation they can call upon. Simultaneously, they demonstrate a willingness to administer swift, decisive consequences for disloyalty or failure. This dual strategy, the carrot and the stick, is carefully managed. It teaches people precisely what behavior is rewarded and what is crushed, training them through predictable reinforcement. It's not blind tyranny. It's a systematic psychological conditioning program. Every Machiavellian strategist is a masterful actor. They do not have one true self. They have a wardrobe of personas, each tailored for a specific audience or objective. 2 subordinates. They may project decisive strength. 2 superiors. Unwavering loyalty. 2 rivals. Harmless congeniality. This is not a loss of identity, but a tactical application of it. The Machiavellian approach views authenticity as a liability. By consciously managing their persona, they control perceptions, mask intentions, and ensure they are always seen in the light most advantageous to their current power play. A Machiavellian mind bypasses surface-level requests to target core human drivers: greed, insecurity, vanity, and the desire for belonging. They offer the ambitious a path to glory, the insecure a promise of stability, and the vain flattery and recognition. This approach is not about brute force. It is about precision psychology. By identifying and appealing to these fundamental levers, they gain willing cooperation. People feel understood and offered what they truly want, often unaware they are being guided toward the Machiavellian's own objective. The control feels like a personal win for the controlled. True to Machiavellian advice, strategic minds often engineer or provoke controlled conflict to solidify power. They may identify a potential rival and discredit them preemptively, or create a minor crisis that only they can solve, showcasing their indispensability. This tactic serves 2 purposes. It eliminates threats before they mature, and it creates a theater of chaos where the controller can emerge as the hero and restorer of order. They understand that periodic, managed instability reinforces the need for their strong, guiding hand, making followers cling to them for safety. A key Machiavellian technique is manufacturing consensus. Before a major decision, they will privately secure the backing of key influencers. So when the idea is presented publicly, it appears to have overwhelming, organic support. This creates a powerful psychological effect, the illusion of inevitability. Opposition seems futile, like standing against the tide. This approach uses social proof as a weapon, making people align with a decision not due to its merit, but due to the perceived risk of isolation. The leader's will is executed not through command, but through engineered social pressure. In a Machiavellian framework, honesty is not a moral absolute, but a tactical resource. Promises are made freely to secure cooperation, with the tacit understanding they may be broken if circumstances change. The strategist understands that credibility is a currency to be spent strategically. They tell the truth consistently when it is cheap to do so, building a reserve of trust. This reserve is then spent on a crucial lie or broken promise when the payoff is high. This calculated relationship with truth keeps others off balance, unable to fully predict behavior, which itself becomes a source of control. The Machiavellian approach prizes patience as a lethal weapon. While others act on impulse, the strategist observes, waits, and allows rivals to make the first move, often into a trap of their own design. They understand that power is often won not by seizing the moment, but by letting the perfect moment come to them. This calculated hesitation projects calm control and forces opponents to reveal their hands. When they finally act, it is with overwhelming precision, exploiting weaknesses that time and patience have laid bare. Their inaction is a form of high-stakes psychological pressure. Ultimate control is achieved not by force, but by making others dependent. A Machiavellian strategist systematically makes themselves the sole architect of key outcomes, the gatekeeper of resources, opportunities, or social access. They position themselves as the critical node in the network. This engineered dependency means that to achieve their own goals, others must go through them, creating a power dynamic that looks like patronage but functions as soft captivity. The controlled party remains loyal, not out of fear or love, but out of sheer, calculated necessity for their own survival and success. To advance a hidden agenda, the Machiavellian mind expertly employs misdirection. They will publicly champion a minor, virtuous cause, or amplify a small problem, directing collective attention and energy toward it. Meanwhile, their true, more consequential maneuver happens in the shadows, unnoticed. This tactic, drawn from a cold political playbook, serves to occupy potential critics, drain the energy of rivals, and provide cover. By the time the real move is discovered, it is a fait accompli, and the audience has been too busy looking at the left hand to see what the right hand was building. A profound Machiavellian power move is the slow, subtle rewriting of shared history. They will reframe past events, taking credit for successes and diffusing blame for failures, often by recasting narratives in meetings or communications. This gradual gaslighting on an organizational or group scale makes people doubt their own memory and perception of events. It creates a reality where the strategist is always the hero or the pragmatic savior, and dissenters seem confused or control over the present is secured by first seizing control of the past. A direct Machiavellian rarely dirties their own hands. Instead, they cultivate loyal intermediaries, allies who execute unpopular decisions and absorb the resulting blame or resentment. These proxies act as a psychological buffer, insulating the strategist from direct fallout. The leader maintains a posture of plausible deniability or final appeal. This tactic allows them to reap the benefits of harsh actions, while preserving their own persona as reasonable or above the fray. It is power through layered insulation, ensuring the controller's image remains untarnished by the necessary dirty work. This Machiavellian principle is a masterclass in incentive design. Rewards, when given, are delivered publicly, personally, and generously to a select few, creating fiercely loyal champions. Punishments, however, are administered through bureaucratic processes or systemic changes, diffusing the blame. No one feels personally targeted by the leader, yet everyone understands the consequences of failure. This approach maximizes loyalty from key agents, while minimizing personal hatred from the general group. It teaches compliance through systemic fear, while binding key lieutenants with bonds of direct, personal gratitude. Machiavellian control is often engineered through artificial scarcity. The strategist creates or identifies something highly desired, access, information, approval, and then tightly rations it. By making themselves the gatekeeper to this scarce resource, they create a dynamic of competition and supplication. People must come to them, and in doing so, acknowledge their power. This tactic transforms social capital into a controlled economy, where favor is the currency, and the strategist is the central bank. The power lies not in having the resource, but in having the sole authority to grant it. Even the most calculating Machiavellian operative understands the power of optics. They will often cloak their maneuvers in a veneer of high-minded principles. Duty, the greater good, or tradition. This simulation of moral high ground disarms critics and provides justifiable cover for self-serving actions. By framing a power grab as a necessary sacrifice or a tough decision for the team's benefit, they recruit morality itself as an unwitting ally. This makes opposition seem not just difficult, but morally wrong, adding a powerful psychological barrier for anyone considering challenge. A sophisticated Machiavellian tactic is to deliberately foster mild instability, or churn, within a group below them. They may rotate assignments, seed subtle rivalries between lieutenants, or redistribute resources unexpectedly. This prevents the formation of stable, powerful coalitions that could challenge their authority. By keeping subordinates slightly off balance and competitive with each other, their focus remains divided, directed inward, vying for the leader's favor rather than uniting against them. The leader becomes the indispensable, central arbiter of a system they design to be perpetually in flux, securing their position as the sole pillar of stability. The pinnacle of the Machiavellian approach is mastering the metagame, understanding not just the tactics, but the psychology of those who study tactics. They anticipate being perceived as manipulative, and thus often perform exaggerated authenticity or vulnerability, a double bluff that disarms the wary. They know the rules of power are also a language, and they learn to speak it ironically, using the expectation of cynicism to mask a deeper layer of control. Their final defense is making you question your own perception of their motives, leaving you unsure if you are facing a genius or a phantom, which is, in itself, the most potent form of control. The Machiavellian approach to power is not a supernatural gift, but a sobering study in applied psychology. It reveals control as a series of calculated plays on universal human levers: fear, desire, insecurity, and social need. These strategies work not because people are weak, but because they are predictable. Understanding this toolkit is not an endorsement. It is essential defense literacy. The greatest armor against such manipulation is recognizing the patterns: strategic detachment, engineered dependency, and narrative control. True personal power, however, lies not in mastering these dark arts, but in transcending the need to use them. It is found in building systems and relationships so transparent, resilient, and genuinely rewarding that manipulation becomes unnecessary. The final victory is not in controlling others, but in safeguarding your own autonomy, ensuring you are moved by conviction, not by invisible strings.